To talk more about that and all the other exciting updates across the league, I'll turn things over to Stan Kasten, please.
Okay, thank you, Paul. Welcome, everyone. Thank you, everyone, for being here today. It's an amazing day for me and for all of us who have been involved. You know, it feels like we've been at this for 10 years, but it's just been 4 months since this all started. We had nothing. We had a blank sheet of paper and no employees 4 months ago. And now we have over 120 employees. And there has been so much which has been accomplished, but it's all so complicated. Just think about onboarding that many employees. They all need payroll, they all need insurance, they all need benefits. Oh, and we don't have any processes for doing any of that. So we really were literally starting from a blank sheet of paper. And so everything that we have done has brought us here, and we are 7 weeks away from playing hockey. And so this is really going to happen. Now, I have to tell you, when we first started going, very smart people in sports said to me, Stan, you have to put it off a year. You can't do this. And I knew that they weren't wrong. If you had told me that I had to stand up an expansion team in an existing league with an existing hierarchy in 6 months, I would have told you that's nuts. And so doing what we've already done so far, a whole league hierarchy, 6 franchises in only 4 months so far, I would tell you that's impossible. And yet, as I said, here we are. We're 7 weeks away from actually playing. The 6 month hurry up to do it, because we weren't going to put it off another year. I had made that commitment. Mark had made that commitment to the players who had been fighting for this so long, not to put it off another year. But to speed things up, that obviously cost us having everything being perfect on day one. So we did have to make some concessions, especially the long lead items. By July and August, we're going around now starting to, once we identified our markets, we have to find venues. Well, having been in the venue business my whole life, by July and August, your schedule is set for the year already. And so it wasn't simply finding a venue, it was finding dates and things that worked. Then we had to find training facilities that were free, that had space. And in some cases, the facilities we wanted required us to build brand new locker rooms. That takes time. That takes architects and construction people and permits, and on and on and on. Other long lead items, uniforms. By July every year, every team has already ordered their uniforms, and that's if they know exactly what logo they're putting on them. I will tell you, in the MLB, if we want to make a change to our uniforms, we have to give them 2 years notice. That's how long production takes to do that. So we found a way to get it done quicker. And the broadcasts, by July and August, every broadcaster has his schedule set. And so fitting that in was going to be tricky and a challenge, but I think we have positive answers on all of those subjects. And it is a tribute to everyone who has been here to make this happen, and doing it simultaneously in 2 countries. That's a challenge I never had before. But having to do all of that in duplicate just made increased the degree of difficulty. Now, on the business side, we did encounter some hiccups, some unforeseen hiccups with some of the hirings and some of the staffing that we had. Some curveballs that were, as I said, unforeseen, couldn't be helped. But we finally are pretty much all staffed up. Just 2 weeks ago, our new Senior Vice President of Business Ops, Amy Shear, joined us. And she has an extraordinarily long resume and successful resume in sports. Her most recent job was with the NFL, which is where she joins us from. So the reason for more delay for the last couple of things that we really are close on, like 98% on, is my fault, because I have asked her once she got here to take a fresh look with her and the staff that that we now have, just look at everything over again one last time before we commit to it. And that includes everything. That includes broadcast. That includes schedule. That includes uniforms. That includes practice venues. All of that. So things that we really are ready to announce. We're going to take a little while longer. And if Amy thinks some things need more of a review or a complete rethink, well, that's what we'll do. But I'm very excited about her being here. She has hit the ground running, and already we can see the benefits. So I would start talking to her, all of you in the media. I would give her another week because she really is swimming in very deep water trying to catch up with all this. But in another week or so, you should talk to her yourself. You should ask her about how things are going. I think she's a very interesting interview whenever you want to do that. So we're here at the start of our first camp. One thing I want to emphasize about that, this year we're here in the market 6 weeks early. In the future, when our seasons start in November, our training camps will be 2 to 3 weeks. That's our agreement with the players. But it's 6 weeks this year in our first year. And that was at the request of our players who wanted to be in each market that much ahead of time so they could start spreading the word, so they could start promoting, so they could start building their team camaraderie that they wanted. My hat's off to them because they really come into this with a spectacular attitude, one of real cooperation. I will tell you, in just these 4 short months, we have had great relations with 2 key partners. One is our union. We talk to them all the time. Brian Burke and all of their players have been fantastic. Everyone has the right attitude. We disagree on things, we talk it through and then move on. It's been great. And our relationship with the NHL could not be better. They have been so extraordinarily supportive in providing advice, pointing us in directions when we need directions. And as I said, those 2 key relationships are going to be big factors in why we are going to be successful. And before I turn it over for the fun part of the program to Jayna, I want to say a word about our GMs and our coaches, because to me, they are the superheroes of our stories so far, because all of them have had this extraordinary can-do attitude, this attitude of all hands on deck. When I read stories about Gina out there looking at sewing equipment and Danielle Marmer working on getting lockers installed, that's what every one of our people has done. They have all pitched in all the ways we have to get this going. And in some of our venues, we've had to build entire locker rooms. They're not all finished yet, but they're going to be finished, as you will see when you get there. We're proud of all our facilities. We're proud that we are providing professionalism to all our players, which was our commitment, which was Billie Jean's commitment and Mark's commitment. I think we're going to be able to say we lived up to that promise. We're not going to be perfect in year one. I will tell you that right after our first game, we're going to begin working on fixing everything for next year. We won't have a lot of the problems or delays next year because we're going to have a full year to go. But this year, I'm glad we took the challenge of standing this league up in 6 months because the stuff that's important, getting the best players, getting them on teams, getting them in places where fans are going to really enjoy them, that we got right. And everyone has the same attitude that I have, that Jayna has, that all our people have. We are proud and enthusiastic and energized for what's happening today and every day because, yeah, everything that we're doing is for the first time, but it's not just that it's historic, it's also that it's important. What we are doing, what we have done is important. It's important to this generation of players. It's important to the generations of players that follow, to female hockey players, but all female athletes that have one more place to be professional if that's where they want to be. And I'm very proud of what we've done. So with that, let me turn it over to my colleague, Jayna Hefford.
Thanks, Stan. First of all, I think what I'd like to say is that none of this could happen, this ambitious timeline, without the support of our ownership group, of Stan, Royce, Alana, Billie Jean, for people to be working with us that have the similar vision, that have an expectation of professionalism that we all have, that allow us to do the work to make sure that that's what's in place for the players. I've had a chance to speak to a lot of the players over the last week or two, and the excitement within that group to just get to training camp is incredible, and it energizes us. We're doing this because we believe in what we're doing. It's important, it's meaningful, and we know that we are doing something historic for the sport. So Stan touched on a number of things, but training camp, of course, opens tomorrow. Incredible moment for us to be able to see the reality of a vision that many of us have had from the time it was just a dream to the time it was a plan. And now we're a matter of hours away. We're all thrilled about that. The first few days of training camp, I know Paul mentioned the schedule's been sent out. The first few days will be medicals and orientation and media before the players hit the ice, but I can tell you they are incredibly excited to hit the ice for the first time. We've also announced our practice facilities. Stan touched on that to some extent. Great facilities that we have our players in. They're all a little bit different, but they all provide a level of professionalism that we've committed to them. Part of the facilities is also everything that my team has been working on, ensuring we have skate sharpeners in every market, ensuring we have medical supplies, that we have jerseys, practice jerseys, pucks, all of those things where we're starting from day one without anything and getting to a point where players arrive tomorrow and all of that will be in place. Our staff continues to grow within our teams. The GMs and head coaches, as Stan mentioned, have been incredible. They've been working day in and day out as hard as we have. They've assembled incredible staff within each market. On the medical side, on the equipment manager side, on the business side, we're bringing in comms people and marketing folks and ticketing folks. So it's been incredible to see us scale up and bring on more and more people to support this league. The jerseys, as you all know, were released today. You got a sneak peek at those jerseys. So that's been really exciting. A few of the players got to see them yesterday as well. We also announced we're going to have a preseason evaluation camp, including scrimmages in Utica. So this is a really unique opportunity. Not many leagues have a chance to bring every team into one market, but because of our structure, we're able to do that. Really important that our GMs and our head coaches get to evaluate players in games. So there will be some great scrimmages there for them to complete the evaluations to eventually name their final rosters that will be part of the launch in January. Going into camp, we have the latest number I heard was 78 official signings to SPAs. So more than half the players going into camp will be on SPAs. They have also started to be paid on their contracts, which is a great momentous moment for our athletes. And players will continue to sign both SPAs and tryout contracts to be a part of the training camp starting tomorrow. Lots more to come from us, but I can just tell you and reiterate that this ambitious timeline has been something that has not scared us at all. It's something that we're incredibly thrilled about and we're energized by it. And every day we have amazing people on our team working to make this league hit the expectations we have for this league. And we couldn't be more excited to open camps tomorrow.
Thank you very much, Jayna, and thank you, Stan. This time we will invite your questions, folks. Please use the Zoom console, your digital hand to please raise it, and I'll call upon folks one by one, ask you to unmute and proceed with your questions. As always, in the interest of familiarizing ourselves with the women's hockey community, please introduce yourselves and the outlet that you are representing, and kindly direct your questions to either Jayna and to Stan. We're certainly going to take questions at least till the top of the hour, if there are that many. So I see a queue growing, and we'll begin. First one with Donna Spencer, please.
Hi, Donna Spencer, Canadian Press. I know that there's been a lot of announcements lately. You've been rolling out a lot of course, being in our business, we always want to know what's next. So I will ask for an update on team names, regular season start date, and TV deal. What are the status of those three things? If you could tackle that, either Stan or
I'll take those. I don't have a date for any of those things. Some of them are again in the process of being reviewed now since Amy has come on board. I think we are close on all of them, but I don't have any more information for you today, but soon, very soon. Listen, some of these announcements are more important to us than they are for you. We need to start business, right? We need to start getting online and selling tickets and setting up promotions. So it's very, very important that we get this out there as soon as possible. We have, by the way, a brand new website coming on board, possibly this week, if not certainly by next week. We've had a kind of a placeholder website until now, but we have a new one with actual information, pertinent information for you, and that could be coming as soon as this week.
I have a follow-up question, Paul, if I can ask it. And this is a bit more training camp related, and maybe Jayna, you can answer this question. I see in this that medicals are probably the next couple days for every. Curious, are the women doing the same though physical testing that the guys do at NHL camps? Power, Wingate, that kind of thing, or is it the medical things that are listed in the CBA?
Thanks, Donna. A combination of both. So there's medical testing that is in the CBA that relates to player health and wellness before they step on the ice for the first time. Additionally, there is some fitness testing that will be a part of the league, some consistency across the board, but teams do have the ability to do some additional testing that might be important to them.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Donna, John Worrow, please.
Hey folks, John Worrow, AP. Good to see you. Kind of one to follow up, and I'm sure I know the answer already, but it's something that's been curious in my mind. Have you given thought? Has there been thought on appointing or hiring a commissioner at some point, whether this year, next year, or what have you?
It's not in our current plan. I don't know that it'll never happen, but try to understand. There's a really important difference between what we're doing and what other leagues you may be familiar with are doing. We are a single entity in my experience, and I've dealt with many commissioners in my life. Their principal function is balancing the needs and the differing opinions, budgets, egos of ownerships that own all the separate teams. That isn't what we are. We are one company, single entity. All of our companies compete like mad on the ice, but off the ice, we are working together, pulling together. I think we are very efficient, both on the business side and on the hockey ops side with two real professionals. We have a board that oversees them, but I think for now, and until our structure changes, and I don't have any plans for that to change, I don't foresee a commissioner or someone like that in the near future. Things could change, but as of today, that's the way it looks to me.
Yeah, I perfectly understand that, Stan. And I just had one follow-up, and it's kind of along the same lines because you are one entity, but in speaking with some of the GMs, how important is it and how unusual is it as well to have the GMs competing against each other, but also working collectively to solve common problems in them, as they're meeting together and as they realize that they're in this thing together, but yet competing.
It's damn unusual, okay? And that's a good thing. And our relationship with our union is damn unusual, and it's really good. Our relationship with our players is damn unusual and really good. We have built into our CBA a formal process to get together with our players routinely to discuss things, to discuss rules, to discuss changes, to do things maybe that would be good for our sport, because we really are all working together. We all saw the same need, and we are all in here committed to filling that need. So we have one goal, and that's why we all are working together. I think it's fantastic.
Thanks, Dan.
Thank you, John. Jared Book, please.
Hi, Hey, Jared Book, Abs on the Prize. Question for Stan. You mentioned that you're starting with a blank sheet. I'm wondering when you say that, obviously there's some of your markets and some of your most passionate fans that are not at zero. They have a negative perception based on what happened. So how do you deal with that challenge on top of everything else that you're dealing with?
Well, the most important thing we can do is deliver, and that's going to take some time. I think the most important first step is what kind of product we put on the ice. And that is the thing I have the most confidence in. We really have all the best players that we could possibly have now. And over time, as we add more teams, we'll have even more of them, hopefully from around the world. We have, I think, the best GMs and the best coaches we can have. And it's the product that is going to be most important. Fortunately, it's the product that I feel the most confident about.
And a quick follow-up, you mentioned the relationship with the NHL. Can't help but notice that all of the teams have different color schemes than other hockey teams in their markets. Was that a conscious decision? Or was that something that just happened to happen out that way?
I gotta admit, I don't know. Okay, there were real professionals doing a lot of these things, and I can't tell you everything you see today is the way it's going to be a year from now. So it's a good question. It's a fair question. I just don't know the answer.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jared. Our next question from Carlene Markey, please.
Hi, Carlene Markey from the Ice Garden. I've heard from various sources that the league has contracted with SportLogic to provide advanced statistics for the league and has contracted with another company to provide biometric and ice location based data through wearable technology worn by players. Can you confirm if this is true? And if so, what is the public availability of those advanced stats?
I can't confirm that's true right now. We've talked to a number of partners in this space, and we're making decisions as we speak day by day, but if we haven't announced it, then I don't think it's final.
Awesome, thank you.
Ian Kennedy, please.
Hi, Jayna and Stan. Ian Kennedy from the Hockey News. My first question, maybe this can go to Stan, has to do with those pre-sale ticket deposits that you've been collecting up until today. I'm wondering how, in your mind, that's gone, if there's any information about the number of people that might have pre-purchased those tickets, and what kind of response you saw from that process.
We're not going to be releasing any of that information, but we are extremely pleased. We had a very big turnout on that first day, Ian, and it has continued. And it has continued right up through yesterday and today. Obviously, we'd be farther along if we had a schedule. So that's why I'm pushing as hard as I can to get that out there as soon as possible. But we think the response has been very strong. Not the same in every market. Some have had more deposits than others. But that also gives us, again, being one company, that gives us an idea where to throw more marketing dollars, where to do extra promotions, where to line up more groups. So we're taking all that information as kind of a good feeler for us for where the demand is going to be strong. But I think it's going to be strong everywhere. Now, let me say this. We have, because of circumstance and because we were feeling a little experimental, we're playing in different buildings. We're playing in small buildings in some cases. In others, we're playing in NHL venues. We understand we're not going to be filling up or selling out the bigger venues, but we're working with our ticket people to make that look the best it can look. But we're also learning. If I have a cold Tuesday in January without many people in the building, that is not a failure. We're prepared for that. We're prepared to learn from that. As I've talked to our marketing people, we can learn something from everyone who buys a ticket, and we learn something from everyone who doesn't buy a ticket. It's all part of this first year. The year is not experimental, but the year is a learning year for us. And all the information we get, good and bad criticism, by the way, all of it's important for us to learn how to make it better in time for year two.
And my second question, maybe for Jayna, I personally love the idea of a centralized preseason tournament or camp or whatever it might be. Do you foresee that continuing on in the future? And what do you personally, from a hockey standpoint, see as the benefit to coaches and general managers? Because obviously we're going to be doing this almost in the middle of a waiver period where players might be able to switch teams, etc. Maybe you can just discuss that process and whether or not this might be an annual event.
Sure. So a few things, whether it's an annual event or not, I think let's see how this year goes. I think we all believe it's a really unique opportunity to bring all of the teams together. And certainly in year one, it gives us a chance to work through a lot of things that we're working through, whether it be various educational pieces we want to talk to the players with around concussions or doping or many of those big issues that are really important. We're going to have everyone in one place. The second part I'll say is the GMs have helped us work through the waiver process. So the idea of the dates and the timing, that's a process that they've been engaged in with us. And, we're all on the same page in how we're going to try to get our rosters down to that 23 player number. And then finally, for the camps, I think what they're going to get out of it is the scrimmages. Obviously, they'll have a chance to see the players in a game situation. For us on a hockey ops, on a game presentation, on the marketing side, we have an opportunity to try some things and make sure that when we launch in January, we're ready to go. So it can be a little bit experimental for us in certain ways, but also it's going to provide a really great evaluation process for the GMs and the head coaches.
Thank you both.
Thank you, Ian. Next question from Ashley Scarge, please.
This is for Stan Kasten. Stan, how much of the WNBA are you using as a blueprint to run this league?
Really very little. The circumstances were very different. I was on the committee that started WNBA 100 years ago. And back then, you had to be owned by the NBA team in that market and play in the same venue. That form, and by the way, they didn't have a commissioner either. They had a president. That model has been changed several times over the years. So other than that, I learn as much from just the sports business in general. This is, every sport is unique in how it is deployed, but the blocking and tackling of marketing are the same. Building teams are different among the different sports I've been involved with, but packaging the product, selling the product, connecting with your fans, those are the same, but nothing specific to the WNBA that I can point to.
Another follow-up to that. Sorry. Another follow-up to that is you've been involved in sports a long time. I want to know why the NHL and hockey in general is not as popular in the U.S. as it is in Canada, and is the Women's Hockey League going to address that?
Whoa, that's a very big question. And first of all, there are places in the U.S. where hockey is extraordinarily popular. So I don't know that I agree with your premise. And I'm not going to bite off more than I can chew. We have to get our little corner of the sports world fixed before I can deal with the larger sociological problem. I'm not trying to evade. I'm just saying that's more than my ambitions at the moment.
And how much is the NHL invested in helping you guys out?
Well, they've invested their time and their support. If you're talking about dollar investment, there's none of that. No, we're a completely separate league owned by completely different people. So, but their support has been invaluable. I will tell you, I've spoken to team presidents in the NHL. I've spoken to team owners in the NHL, all of whom have told me about the speech that Gary Bettman made to them separately about how important we are, how important this mission is, and how much they should do to help us. And that is exactly the kind of cooperation I have had. I will tell you, I have had calls from NHL teams not in our cities who want to know how they can help, who are interested in getting a game, things like that. So the support they've given us has been critical in a lot of areas. But if you're talking about money, no, that's on us. We're we have to design our own business plan and make it work, and we will.
Mr. Kasten, thank you and good luck.
Thank you.
Ashley, next question from Kenzie Lalonde, please.
Hi, Jayna. Hi, Stan. I'll start just quickly with you, Stan. You've talked, you're very confident in the product on the ice and the quality of players and the level of quality of hockey we're going to see. So just at this point, how would you evaluate the level of importance of branding, of logo, team names, and design right now as we're, approaching puck drop?
It's going to be important. It's behind the quality of the game on the ice, but it's definitely important. Listen, we know long-term we're going to have to get those things right. Also, as we were doing triage from July for what was the most important things that we had to do, what were the long lead items that we had to turn our attention to, we did that. And some of those things are coming in late just because things take time, but I'm never going to minimize or underestimate the importance of that. All of you, I think, have heard me speak on this before. I think the building blocks of any league or any business are the same. For us, it's your product, it's your customer, it's your brand. And in our league's formulation, it's our team on the ice, it's our stadium or arena experience, and it's our connection with the community through community relations. We're focused on all of those. We're not 100% deployed yet, or will be by day one. And a lot of that has to do with the short time frame that we had to get this done. But we're working on it every day. We're not going to stop working on it the first day of the season. I've said this, my very first meeting with the players, which is almost a year ago now. I'm going to make mistakes in year one. I'm going to make mistakes. And in case I miss any that I make, our crowd here has always been extremely generous in providing examples that I might have missed of mistakes that I made. But that's all useful. And we're going to learn from the things that we, from the mistakes that we made, from the omissions that we made. Did we do too much here? Did we do not enough there? We'll learn from that. But to answer your question, it's incredibly important. The sooner I can get it all out, the better we all are. But until it's ready, it's not ready.
I appreciate that, Stan. I guess, Jayna, for you, you guys can't really tell at this time the date of puck drop or when the season will begin. But when you do look at the overall schedule, does it look like a game on the weekend, a game during the week? Just how do you envision the volume of games that will be played on a weekly basis?
Yeah, there will be games played every day of the week, which is exciting. Again, something that our sport hasn't seen. Traditionally, we played games on weekends because it hasn't been a full-time job for many players. So it's exciting to be able to look at the schedule and see the way it's broke down. A very high level, the way it was built is teams typically play a game during the week and a game on the weekend. So it may vary from that slightly from week to week, but you'll see games every day of the week.
You'll also see, if I can add to that, you'll also see games at different times as we experiment with what works, what doesn't work. Something I glossed over, but as soon as we are able to finalize our broadcast schedule, I'm very proud of what we've done. We had a goal of every single one of our 72 games being broadcast on linear TV, as well as streaming. I don't know that we're going to quite make that goal, but we're going to have an awful lot, if not all, pretty much most of our games on linear TV in their markets or on a network. And that's one of the more exciting developments. The reaction and the interest from the different broadcast entities in the two countries has been fantastic. And I'm very excited about that. Can't wait to announce it. And as soon as we have it finalized, we will do so.
Right there with you, Stan. Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Kenzie, Alex Azzi, please.
Hi, Alex Azzi with The Messenger. Thanks for taking the time. Stan, first I'll direct this to you. Following up on that broadcast point, if not every game is on linear TV, can fans expect that every game will at least be streamable?
Yes. Yeah, you can expect that.
Okay. And does that go for both? Like if I'm an American fan, I can watch all the Canadian games and vice versa?
That is our plan. That's correct.
Got it. And then Jayna, was curious, I know there's been a lot of talk in the hockey community recently about player safety and net guards in particular, and was wondering if the league has made a decision about net guards in both training and practices. And then also more broadly, can you speak to what like the medical staffing will be during both practices and games?
Yeah, so as it relates to neck guards, first of all, we've looked into sourcing them so that we can have them available for our players should they choose to wear them. We're still discussing where we as a league stand on this, but we're in active discussions with the union, with equipment providers, and with other leagues, as well as our medical staff. And I think certainly by league launch, we'll have a firm stance on where we stand, but at the very minimum, we'll be providing them so that they're available for players. From a medical perspective, every team has a team doctor or team physician. They have 2 athletic therapists. They have massage therapists. For games, there's a requirement that there is ambulance on site, and there's also emerge doctors on site as well. So we have recently hired a chief medical officer, Dr. Tina Atkinson. She's been incredible working through our protocols with us, and she'll be leading the medical protocols throughout the entire season for the league.
Thank you.
Thanks, Alex. Next question from Mark Colley, please.
Hi, Mark Colley, Toronto Star. Stan, I just want to confirm something you mentioned earlier. You said some teams will be playing in NHL venues?
Yeah, we will. Not all their games necessarily, but yes, there will be regular season games in NHL venues.
Okay. And you also said more than 120 employees. Does that include players?
No,
Okay.
that's in addition to about 150 players. This was complicated. Have I made that point before? This was hard, man. But so many people. I mean, you just heard Jayna talk about the medical protocols and having neck guards. There's so many details. I don't want to keep harping on that, but it's just really true. This was a big job. This was complicated, and that's why I'm just so excited to be as far along as we are.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mark. Emma Healy, you can proceed, please.
Hi guys, Emma Healy with the Boston Globe. Thanks so much for taking the time. One thing that I noticed when looking at the jersey reveal today was, obviously they have the city's names across the front, but other than that, there's not so much, icons or insignia of the cities themselves. And one thing that I've seen is so important in sports is creating that connection with the city. And you mentioned that as well, Stan, earlier. So how do you guys plan to forge those connections and manufacture that history in a brand new league in a lot of these markets that are so saturated with professional teams already?
Yeah. Well, some of that is exactly the things we are working on. I don't have any news for you today, but as soon as we have that, we will release it. We had to order uniforms right away. By the time we got this started, everyone had already, in every other league, had already put their orders in, and the big companies were already swamped doing it. So we found someone who could do this, and we did this in maybe early August is when we placed our order, once we knew what our cities were. And we opted to go at that time with kind of this vintage look, which we thought was pretty cool. Our players' reactions have been great. We don't have logos to put on them yet. We will probably have patches along the way for different things, both for commercial reasons and non-commercial reasons. But that's a work in progress. Again, this is not a conversation we'll be having a year from now. But I appreciate the question. It's a good question. And all we have for now is some of what you've seen. It'll look a little better when you see it in person. And speaking of that, I think all of you followed us on draft day, which was an extraordinarily professional event. I couldn't have been happier how that turned out, or the images that came out of that event. Well, we have spent the last 2 days with a professional film crew doing things with our players, with different shots, with different videos that we're going to use for commercials or game content or featurettes. Again, something these women have never experienced before. And I think in those things, you'll see the uniforms that you've had a peek of so far looking even better than they do so far. But is this the final version of what our uniform looks like? No. But again, we think it might well become a throwback in the future.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Emma. Simon Olivier, s'il vous plaît.
Hi, Simon Guy-Laurent from La Presse in Montreal. Stan, you're going to be surprised, but my question is going to be about logos. Actually, it's pretty simple. How do you evaluate the possibility of starting the season without logos or names?
Oh, I think that's a possibility. It all really depends. Now, right now, Amy and her staff are reviewing many things. That's one of the projects we're reviewing. Once we make decisions on those things, then there's a production delay, and that's just inevitable. So I will tell you that for at least the first month or maybe half a season or more, we will have a line of merchandise available, which is very cool, by the way. But it will be featuring city names and variations on some of the designs you've seen so far. As soon as we get our website, I think by the middle of December, you'll be able to order merchandise online. And that took heaven and earth to get it done that quick. By opening day, you should have merchandise in the venues. And my hope is within a month or two thereafter, maybe we'll be able to supplement that with logo merchandise. That I can't promise, but I do feel pretty good about the first schedule for just the city name merchandise.
Okay, no, pretty clear. As well about the venues, can you confirm if or not every team has a home venue right now? As a home rink, actually.
Well, we don't have all paperwork signed. This comes back to lawyers. I didn't want to bore you with lawyers, but that's just where we are. I think our schedule is 98% done. I think basically all of the home schedules are done, and the holes that remain in our schedule are specialty events or neutral site events, or things like that. And most of those holes are in the second half of the season. We've even toyed with releasing the first half of the season schedule. I'd rather not do that. And so we're going to take whatever time we still need, a short amount of time to really finalize it. But that's coming soon. And believe me when I tell you, I need that out there more than you need that out there. So we're doing it as fast as we can.
Thanks a lot.
Merci, Simon. Jim Cherney, please.
Thanks, Paul. And Jayna, Stan, thanks for doing this today. Yeah, Jim Cerny from Sportsnaut in New York. Jayna, this is for you, and it's kind of a broad question. But as you careen at this high speed towards opening night or opening day, what are you most excited about? And then conversely, what keeps you up at night and is your biggest concern or worry?
Most excited for puck drop on the league. It'll be a momentous event. It's something that we, as I said at the very beginning, many of us dreamed about. We created this vision that we had been working towards for a number of years. So to see it become reality is going to be really special for not only the players who get to be there, but for many other people associated with the game that are so passionate about it and have had a place in this game, in the women's game, for a long time. So it's going to be a special night. What keeps me up at night? Probably a number of things, as the lists grow of things that need to get done. But each day we check things off, and I'm excited to say right now, I feel like we're on track. We're right where we want to be. We're working at a rapid pace, but we haven't hit any roadblocks yet. We know it's very possible, but right now, I'm really excited where we're at and the people that we have in place. Just really excited to see things open tomorrow and start getting some feedback from both players and staff as we opening training camps.
And just one quick follow-up to that. You're talking about the excitement to see this become a reality. I would assume that there must have been times along this journey, this path, that you may have questioned whether this would have been a reality, and if so, can you speak to that and overcoming just the myriad odds and obstacles that you have not only recently but over the years?
I don't know how much time we have, Jim, but this has been a long journey, and it's all been an important part of the journey. As a player, I played in 4 different versions of what we considered professional leagues. But if you put all of them together, none of them would equal the investment that's been made in this league in the first few months. This is completely different than anything we've done before. We have an ownership group that believes in this vision, that is willing to and excited to invest in this vision, and sees how meaningful and important it is. So along the way, the starts of leagues, the folding of leagues, the challenges within the PWHPA, and the players taking a stance and, being courageous in that. There's been a lot of ups and downs, but it's really exciting now to be at a point where we're all on the same page, we're all working together, and we're ready to do something really historic for the sport.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Jayna.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Jim. Chris Donkin, please.
Thanks, Paul. Hi to both of you. Question for you, Jayna. The last time we spoke a couple weeks ago, you were talking about how there's still a lot that you had to get in order for the training camps. You didn't have things like pucks or pylons or even tape at that point. Can you just walk us through the work, as you're talking about all those details that need to be filled in, just the work that's gone into planning that over the last couple weeks? Filling in all those details, and then the significance of that for the players who are showing up tomorrow to start camp.
Again, when the players show up tomorrow, we want them to see the professionalism that we all stand for and that we've all committed to. So there's so much that goes into that. And as I said, when we started this journey, we didn't have a single roll of tape, a single set of laces, a skate sharpener, simple things like Band-Aids. We didn't have anything. And so my team has done incredible work in learning about skate sharpeners, in learning rehab equipment. Not everybody were experts in these fields. However, we've had people within the league, within the separate teams, that have jumped in and helped us to build that out, so that each team will enter training camp with the consistent environment, with the same equipment, whether those are skate sharpeners or rehab equipment, fridges, all the different things that we're going to need as part of these environments that they're in. So it's been an incredible amount of work, and the organization behind it, and getting to a point, as Stan said, even the admin side and the finance side of being able to put these orders in and get them through on such a quick at such a quick pace. Practice jerseys, socks, pucks, pylons, the equipment. We have equipment providers that players will be able to select the equipment they want to wear. So it's extensive. I've learned more about some of this stuff than I ever knew playing the game and being a part of it. But we all, we've worked incredibly hard to make sure that when the players walk in, they have everything they need to be professional athletes.
Thanks, Jayna. And just a quick follow-up, and apologies if you've already gone through this. I had to come in a bit late, but I'm just wondering if you can elaborate on how you selected your colors for each city. We see in New York, for example, there's some that teal is kind of familiar to people who are fans of Gotham FC or the New York Liberty. I don't know if that's intentional, but can you talk a little bit about just how you picked those colors?
And we did discuss it earlier, and the answer was, I have no idea. You should know Amy Shear, our new head of business ops, spent like 10 years with the Liberty in New York. And this was decided way before Amy joined us. So that I know for sure is a coincidence. So the truth is, it's probably a good off-day story, and you should get it, but I don't know the answer.
Thanks to both of you. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Go ahead, Jayna.
One of the quick answers, I think, is that we needed to create 6 very different jerseys. We didn't want similarities between them. So, but beyond that, we'd have to talk to our marketing team. I know not much more than Stan on that, but I do think one guiding principle was that they would all look very unique to each other.
All right. Thanks very much.
Welcome.
Thanks, Carissa. We're almost at the top of the hour, but I see a few more hands for some follow-ups that we will take before we wrap. Ashley, I see your digital hand still up. If you have a follow-up, you can proceed, please.
No, I do not. You can pass on me. Sorry.
Okay. One down. Carleen, go ahead, please.
Hi, Carly Markey from the Ice Garden again. With the explosion of sports betting across all North American sports leagues, is the PWHL looking to partner or engage with sports betting companies in any capacity?
I am sure we will. I'm not up to date on every deal that we've made. I don't believe we have anything like that yet. I think it's in every sport's future, and it stands to reason it will be in ours. I don't believe we are there yet, though.
Awesome, thank you.
Alex, please.
Thank you again for taking the time. I will start with Jayna. Was curious about this is like a very basic question, but like what rules is the league going to follow? Like IIHF or some combination of that and something else?
That's a great question. We've been working really hard on the rules and regs and the officiating side of the league. And as a result of our great relationship with the NHL, they've been incredibly supportive on this. We've been speaking with Steve Walkham. We've been speaking with Al Kimmel, Haley Moore of the AHL. So we'll be working alongside them. They'll be helping with our officials in addition to our relationships with Hockey Canada, USA Hockey. We will be following the NHL rule book with a few small adaptations, potentially some things that we're still finalizing. Of course, body checking and fighting, that's not part of the women's game. That will not be part of it. But using the pool of officials that we're using, that'll be our starting point is the NHL rulebook.
Do you expect that the play that we'll see will be more physical in this league versus what's allowed at the World Championships or Olympics?
I'm not sure. I'm hoping that it's going to be more consistently officiated because I think in the women's game, it's really difficult. I played a long time to know where the line is. And I think what players always want is consistency. So that's what we're going to focus on is consistency. So the players know the expectation. I think anyone that knows the women's game knows that it's a very physical game, but there is a fine line between body checking and body contact. So we'll be working through that with the officials we put in place and create a standard of play. But my biggest goal is the consistency from game to game and how the game is officiated.
And then one other one for Jayna. Does the league currently have a policy on banned substances, both in terms of what we think of traditionally performance enhancing drugs, but also I think, marijuana is still on the WADA list, but is legal in some of the states that players will be playing in. How is the league planning to handle that?
So again, another thing we're working through, Dr. Tina Atkinson is leading this on the medical side. We've been in contact with CCES, USADA, WADA. We're going to create an educational program for our players. As I mentioned, as part of the Utica event, we have a number of things planned to walk through with our players. Starting up a doping program is not an easy task. It doesn't happen quickly, but it's something that we're going to build towards. The good news is many of our athletes are already very familiar with the restrictions in place and they live by them every day because they compete with their national teams. So we'll make sure that there's an educational piece across the board on that. But we're going to have to abide by what many of those players abide by with their national teams.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ian and then Carleen to wrap, please.
Thanks, Paul. Jayna, first question for you, just following up on Alex's question there. Where is the pool of officials coming from? I've heard a lot of talk about officiating in the league, but who might we see coming in? Because obviously most of the officials will be tied to another league already.
Yeah, so as I mentioned in our partnership with the NHL, the AHL, we've started with the AHL pool of officials. We went out to a number of officials that were recommended to us to ask if they had interest in being a part of the league. Had a great response, which was really wonderful to see. So officials that will be reffing in the AHL will also be a part of our league. We've also been in discussions with both Hockey Canada and USA Hockey to ensure we have their top officials as well that are put into that pool. And then we'll work with the larger pool for across all the PWHL games. Awesome,
thanks. And my last question then for Stan. Obviously there was a lot of talk about those logos and names recently. 6 names were trademarked and reported. I'm wondering if you can comment, are those the 6 names that we're going to be going with, or is that process still being reviewed. I know you said that Amy's reviewing everything, but
Yeah, that's one of the things Amy is reviewing. She just got here 2 weeks ago, and she and her staff want to take a fresh look at those things and other names that have been kicked around. Again, Ian, that's a very complicated process. The IP process in two separate countries was very complicated. So we also have trademarked the PWHL and City logo. We'll be using that for much of the year. I will tell you, those of us who've kind of been dealing with that logo for months now are getting really comfortable with that logo, and people seem to relate to it well. For instance, you see it on the Twitch or X avatars, things like that. And so I think we will probably wind up having two logos, and I couldn't tell you which is the primary, which is the secondary, but I think eventually we will have both kinds. I just don't have any news for you on that yet.
Fair enough. Thanks you both.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ian. Carlene has advised that her question has been asked, which means we have no further questions, and
Okay.
right at the top of the hour too, so everything worked out just as planned. Thanks everybody. To the media that joined this call, we really value and appreciate not only your time, but your coverage in the preseason and throughout the season to come. We look forward to seeing you finally in the rinks beginning tomorrow in some venues, and practices come the weekend, and of course Utica and the season when puck drops officially in January. We'll continue to provide some regular media availabilities for remote coverage, not always necessarily with Stan or with Jayna, but with perhaps some players and some other folks from across the PWHL, and that information will come regularly from myself and Ashley through PWHL Communications. Thanks once again to Stan and to Jayna for your time and your transparency in the Q&A, and again to the media for taking your time to join us today. And this will conclude today's availability.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.